Welcome to Adult Forum. I'm Pastor Hilling. This week on a special edition of Adult Forum, it is an honor, a privilege, and a joy to reach out and have a conversation with a wonderful community partner here on the east side of Columbus, the good Dr. Seleshi Asfaw. Did I say that right?
Yes, that's right. That's right.
Yes.
Correctly.
He was,
We are good.
Thank you. He is the president and CEO of the Ethiopian Tewahedo Social
Exactly.
Services.
You passed the test.
Yes. And Seleshi, I'm so happy to have you on the podcast and just to talk about ETSS and everything that you do in Columbus and beyond, and just learn more about the organization. So first of all, thank you, and thank you for fitting us into your schedule, because you're about to take off somewhere, aren't you?
Exactly. Yeah, I have to, because I love Whitehall, the partnership, the community, the city. The Mayor Magard, she's really a good friend of ETSS and our community. So how could I pass this offer, to share what we are doing in Whitehall and Central Ohio?
Nice, absolutely. So, for like you and I were just talking before I hit record that you and I know similar people here. Like our lives have crossed in fun ways, and so I found out about you from our mutual friends, Joel and Amy.
And Amy, yeah.
And just amazing people.
Incredible people. They are the ones who opened the door for Whitehall for us, because they adopt a child from Ethiopia. Tasfa means hope in the Ethiopian Amharic language. So they get their first child, and since then they are really the backbone for the organization. When we do our events of New Year Ethiopian celebration called Inkutatash in Whitehall, there were the photographers, there were organizers, there were videographers. I mean, the event was so colorful because of them. And we continue still our relationship. Amy is now the manager of one of our programs, Survivors of Domestic Violence and Human Trafficking. So really a very, very good family in Whitehall that we have.
Yeah. So I found out about you through them. And again, like, those are the kind of friends and community partners. But for people who may not know Joel and Amy, like, how do you describe ETSS or to people who want to know about the organization, the history of the organization? What is it that ETSS does?
Yes, Pastor, thank you so much for the opportunity and pleasure to share our story and what ETSS, or the Ethiopian Tewahedo Social Services, is doing to the Central Ohio, and in particular to the Whitehall refugee immigrants here in Whitehall. And if I start from the name, Tewahedo means coming together as one. It calls for unity, it calls for collaboration, it calls for cooperation, and also it supports our philosophy. What it means is that all humanity is one. And this oneness, which is Tewahedo, creates a responsibility for all of us to help our people who need help as part of our community. That's really a responsibility. That is a belongingness. That's what your church is doing. That's what my organization is doing. To help others is the most important word that humanity has been since the beginning. So that is our philosophy, and that T word, or Tewahedo, has a lot of deep meanings of spirituality too, even that's being made one, which is really the Holy Trinity thing is there. That's what our church used. Tewahedo, Ethiopian Tewahedo Church, is long name. So the Ethiopian Tewahedo Social Services, or ETSS, is a non-profit organization helping new Americans here in Central Ohio facilitate their integration through employment, through education, health and wellness, comprehensive case management, supportive services, safety and domestic violence programs, so that they become part of our community, to feel that they are at home, so that because refugees are the most disadvantaged communities here in Central, because they have a lot of barriers, and the barriers that we call for any other American member is double for refugees or triple for refugee immigrants. So that, as an immigrant myself, as a refugee myself and my family, when we came here, we were challenged by those challenges: the language, the cultural barriers, loss of your family, the family's network and contact or social contact, navigating the system because we came from a different system. So all of these are really aggravating your situation, because when you come as a refugee, there are post-trauma disorders that you have been struggling and suffering, because there was pre-migration, and then there is a migration, then post-migration. That's what they have gone through, all these steps. And then when they came here as post-migration, a third country, they have so many barriers. So we try to bridge that gap to make them feel at ease at home, so that they become productive members of our society. That's what the vision of ETSS is, really to welcome, a city that welcomes refugee and immigrants and provide supportive services or training so that they become healthy, self-reliant, contributing members of our society. What does that mean is, we don't want really to share or take the taxpayer money or becomes on welfare or others. We really want them to be self-sufficient and contributing taxpayers, customer services, all those needs that they can give back, and then part of the economic development of the city. So that's what ETSS is really specialized in: refugee immigrants serving the new Americans. As you know, Whitehall, we have the number one Hispanic Latino community, second largest community, the Ethiopian Eritrean community, and then you can name it, Nepalese and others are now called Whitehall, Ohio. So that's why we are focusing on those areas to really make our refugee immigrants to be part of our community.
Yeah, I had no idea until you were just speaking that immigration had those three different phases to it, like the pre, the immigration, and
then post-migration.
Because I've never been in that system.
Yeah.
And I feel like I'm ignorant in this, and I'm not alone in just thinking that it was like a one-phase process. But that sounds. I recently moved back to Ohio from Connecticut, and it was hard to get a license.
Yeah, even for coming from Connecticut here to integrate to the society, how it takes, even though you speak the language, you know some friends and people, you are comfortable. Imagine when you come from Africa or Asia or Middle East or Latin America, you cross all that, and all those steps, like most people really, including myself, I have no any idea or dream to come to the United States. I'm professionally medical doctor back home. My wife is a registered nurse. So we have a good life, a good work, and it was our prime time helping our people. But these dictators came in and took power by guns, and then they just follow this ethnic line federalism kind of things. And then, the right and the left, killing and putting in prison those, people whom they think that they are different from their opinion. Because of my belief, because of my religion, because of my ethnicity, I was pushed out and I have to leave. So, then when we come here, so many barriers, but also very, very contributing. Look, I came here and built this institution, which hire more than 150. Now I have more than 150 employees. We have about 13 locations in Central Ohio, which, one of the sites are in Whitehall, actually, too, is really, how successful we are. We are hardworking people. We have values, religious values, cultural values that we brought, we share with our American community. The refugees are innovators. They really support the economy. Wherever refugees are, you can see the growth of any growing city in the United States is part because of inviting refugee immigrants in there. Because when they came, they brought resources, they fill in debilitated housing situations. This is really a good community development. Diverse city is a strong city. The new Americans, the growth or bringing refugee immigrants really enhances our cultural enriches our cultural values and also contribute for the economic and community development. So, yeah, you are right. I mean, even from, when you come from one state to another, it takes time for you to integrate, as you know that. That's right.
Yeah. And learning a system within the system is one thing.
Exactly.
Changing that whole. So when you talk about city growth and how positive city growth is tied into refugee communities, because it does bring that diversity and like cities raised together. From your experience, like how did you end up in Columbus? Because I was very surprised that when Columbus has the fifth biggest Ethiopian refugee population in America. I was like, maybe they just love the Buckeyes.
It's very interesting. The reason that, of course, I came because I have a family here. I don't have any idea what state, what city is good for refugee immigrants. I don't have any clue, but there was a family who came as a refugee from the Sudan, and they established here, and because of them, my family and myself came. But the story is this. When the first refugees settled, because there are 9 refugee resettlement agencies at the national level. One of them, as you know, the Lutheran Refugee Immigrant Service, LIRS, and the HIAS and the World Church Services, and there are about 9. So these 9 national refugee centers assign each quota a number of refugees in different states. So they send some to Columbus, they send some to Texas, they send some. So those who live here, they like it, and they call. Refugees, they call each other. They like, look, Columbus is a good place to live, to raise your children. Everybody's coming here, and then because of that, if one family or 2 family or 3 family welcomed, they talk about the situation, and then people come even as secondary migrants, and then becomes, initially was the Ethiopians and the Eritreans who came here, then follow that is the influx of the Somali refugee immigrants. My goodness, they just come from anywhere and just flooded. And Columbus were welcoming the city, the county commissioners, churches like you. And I told you the story that the church, one of my Ethiopian family told me about the story about your church, how you are very supportive. So the faith-based community in a group were really very welcoming. I think the history of Columbus, Whitehall, or Reynoldsburg, or you call the suburbs, there is a history of welcome. It's not only the new arrivals, even before the 90s, from Germany, from Europe, from other countries. Columbus has a history of a welcoming nature, openness. They're very open and smart. So because of the local government, including the state even, are very pro to newcomers, because they know the contribution of refugee immigrants is really palpable. So I came because I have family, but the first initial refugees came because they settled by refugee settlement agencies. They don't have any clue what Columbus looks like. They just told them to go to Columbus. They settled them here. They love it, and they called their friends across the state, and people came. And then they found that one is because of the housing situation. Here in Columbus, Whitehall, or Central Ohio, the affordable housing is really attracting many refugee immigrants to come, because the payment that we pay in Washington, D.C. or New York or other big cities is doubled.
Yeah.
Here, you can, even without rent, with that rent in Washington or New York or others, here you can have a mortgage by that. So they love that house ownership. And refugees came to Columbus within 3 to 5 years, so they'll become homeowners. And the social service agencies also really very open. And I think there are so many features in Columbus, and the living situation here is much cheaper than. So that's what people, refugee immigrants, hear that, and the welcoming nature of the cities here in Central Ohio is what attracting many people.
Nice. That's, I had no idea, but it makes a lot of sense just thinking about how national support organizations work, that they would kind of I mean, just everything you're saying is making sense, right? Like, so as refugees come over, like some end up in Texas, some end up in Ohio, and then you have those positive experiences, and the communities grow. No, that's amazing. So, here's a question that I hope you're not expecting.
Okay.
But with the various communities that you run into, as a person who really enjoys food of all kind, give me some restaurant recommendations that aren't on my radar.
Very interesting. I will recommend for you, because we are serving many refugee immigrant community. I have tasted the Nepalese cuisine here in Central Ohio. I have tasted the Turkish restaurant on 23 and 27 270 area. It's really lovely. I love it. I love the Turkish cuisine. The Ethiopians restaurants in Whitehall, at Hamilton, and I know maybe that the Lalibela restaurant, and there is a new restaurant open just close to what Lalibela restaurant is. They are both at the center of the is it McNafton's? No, not McNafton's. At the corner of Hamilton and East Main, in that corridor, there are two restaurants that you love, Ethiopian restaurants. And there is one on Cleveland, in Cleveland and Innis Road area. There is also another Ethiopian restaurant, very popular. The African Safari, the Somali restaurants on the northeast side. I mean, you will enjoy. I think the first thing that what we appreciate is really the different culture on food tasting. And there was a program called, before the pandemic, called the Food Ambassador. What we did with this Food Ambassador is we have clients, we have staff who are experienced in their own terms in their cultural food. So we have, maybe two refugees prepare the food at your house. You call your neighbors or friends, wherever they are. Yeah. In front of you, they prepare it, fresh food prepared, and the whole family comes together and eat. That is our Food Ambassador.
That is amazing.
This is amazing, which because of the COVID-19, we stopped it, but now after things are become settled, we are going to resume. Maybe we can bring that Food Ambassador at your church or at your house. I'll connect that with Kerry. Kerry is the one who's connecting that. So I think that's what lovely is that what I like the Americans is really they love to taste other cultural foods. Yeah. And the food brings people together. There are so many misunderstandings about refugee immigrants.
Right.
When we are celebrating our New Year celebration, Ethiopian New Year celebration, then later it grows to the New American celebration. We brought the different tastes of different countries: Ethiopians, Somalis, Nepalese, Burmese, and there is also Burmese Asian food at the corner, close to our office in Mount Vernon area. Also, you have to taste that. So I think on a walking distance, go to the Lalibela restaurant, which is a walking distance from your church at Hamilton and East Main, or the second, it is called the Garden Ethiopia, I think, is another new restaurant, really popular now. So in each community, there are lovely food that you need to taste.
Nice. Hey, yeah, once we get on the other side of COVID, if we can be a food ambassador location,
that would be great.
I will open these doors anytime.
Excellent. We can do that. Nice. You can do that. You have Kerry's contact information. You will let her know that how you are interested about the Food Ambassador. When things coming calm, please count us as our first open door for all of us.
Absolutely.
Excellent.
As you were saying that, obviously one of the things that kind of stopped that, I'm assuming, is COVID with the social distancing and just the impact of the pandemic around the world.
Yeah.
With the work that you do, like, how much has COVID impacted that, and how have you adapted over the past 14 months?
Yeah, I think that is very appropriate and questions to be answered. And really, I want to share our experience because the pandemic was a surprise for all of us.
Yeah.
And even we don't know in which direction to run or to really, because we were not prepared. We were prepared. We have, the board approved our strategic plan, strategic priorities, and we're ready on the road to, implement. Then COVID comes suddenly. And I was really amazed by our team, the resilience and the coming togetherness, and put together a plan, how, quickly, put together our policy, and then remote learning environment, and also a flexible, work environment where we can still open our doors, and how we are going to be very careful. But most of our staff working at home, immediately the technology and putting our stuff on cloud, and then starting without interruption, without disrupting our main programs online, virtual. Mm-hmm. And then immediately, there was about 350 students on virtual training for our after-school program. Mm-hmm. And then because some of the families, they want to work, they don't want to lose their jobs. Right. And they need their children. So they have to choose, either they have to stay with their children or they have to choose their job opportunity. So, most families, they choose to stay with their children because they don't want to give them a risk. But at the same time, they don't have that time, they don't have any income. So we host 4 learning extension centers in person where the children drop at 8:30 a.m. We'll handle them, and then the families work. When they came back at finishing their job, they'll pick up their children. Wow. This is really a very helpful program, which was funded by Franklin County Commissioners through the Job and Family Services. And one of the sites actually is in Whitehall. In Whitehall, because we have a lot of Hispanic families there, they need help. There are many Ethiopians there, they need help. So that center helps us a lot. One of the sites is on the north side, northeast, which is for the majority for the Nepali and Bhutanese community. Mm-hmm. Other site was on 161 for the Burmese community. The other site is on the east side at the Prince of Peace Lutheran Church. That is also mainly for the Ethiopian community. So these 4 learning education centers, in collaboration with Columbus City Schools and I Know I Can, which is really very supportive, organizations, and build that relationship. By the way, we have a very good relationship with Whitehall High School system. They are really, Mr. Shoemaker, we have a very, very good relationship with that. So, so that was how we take care of our youth program. And our adult program, which is adult education for employment, English as second language, and also other financial literacy training. We have 2 online for beginners and those who are advanced English learners. Plus, even the employment program, initially it was heavy on unemployment, helping, people to fill out the employment application. At the same time, for those who are really want to work, we open as a flexible situation because, most refugees, they need really hand-on assistance. So we have over 249 for employment, even in this difficult time of the pandemic. Our survivors of domestic violence continue because even there was a lot of issues in our domestic violence because of the pandemic. People are stay together and the thing becomes more aggravated, and there was a lot of cases and our staff were so burdened. And we make our office a coordinating office for PPE, distributing materials. When people are positive on COVID, we have to deliver food, basic needs. Some of them, we help them with rent assistance and utility assistance. We got some money from the city, and then the Columbus Foundation, United Way, Osteopathic Heritage Foundation, I mean, our Central Ohio funding community, amazingly, because we were afraid that we lose our grants, our funding. That was really the biggest concern. Of course, we lost our fundraising events. There were three major events. We lost them because you cannot really. We tried at about October. We got something, but it was not as before last year. Except that we were really supported by the county, by the city, and then we keep our basic infrastructure and mobilize our resources, and then helping, each needed, basic needs that the community is looking for, distributing those materials. So I think now when I look at it back, my staff, my board, my partners, we did really wonderful job. I'm not, more than prouder than how we handle the epidemic in this way. That shows the ETSS infrastructure, how strong, how is really effective, how we are really deep, in the community. Because in each community, in each of our 13 locations, we have bilinguals, community leaders who get direct information from the people, brought us to us, and then we channel that information to our health departments, the hospital system partners. We get resources and channel that way. In the initial phase, there was so many resistance about the COVID-19, the awareness and prevention. They think the refugees are strong, it doesn't touch us. We are okay. We know this kind of challenges. Virus is common.
Yeah.
And they were very, very careless. But at one instance, there was a group of families went to Cincinnati for a funeral service, stayed there for 2 weeks. When they returned back, all of them become positive and sick. That gives us trigger in that community. Oh, this thing's dangerous. So since then, the community respond, and at least to listen. If you see our Facebook, every week there are different languages because our staff speak about 30 languages.
Oh wow!
And through those bilinguals who are speaking the language, we have a script from our health departments, and the messaging with different languages. Oh. Very few, but very good messages that's through us. So we fight in building the awareness and promoting about COVID-19. Mm-hmm. And now on COVID, the vaccine distribution, we play a very, very crucial role. Mm-hmm. The Franklin County Public Health allow us about 70 to 100 spots for new Americans in their Morse Road Center. The Ohio State University Wexner Medical Center, they give us the East Hospital, another, every week, 50 to 70 spots for our new Americans. The Ohio Health Family Care, they are in Whitehall. Yep. Dr. Buhari, Mohammed and his staff, they give us, and then the high school to be in that clinic. A lot of east side of our communities has been benefited from that center. The Columbus Public Health, all the health system, hospital system, and the health departments, we partner and we try to reach out our community to be vaccinated. So I'm very, very proud on the vaccine distribution, also on vaccine testing, the awareness about COVID-19. Now, almost, before it was, I can say 70% resisting about the vaccine, and then only 30% were positive. Then it becomes 50-50. Now the reverse is like, 70% of our population wants to be vaccinated. Yeah. So I think ETSS contributes a lot on the pandemic to fight. And of course, our community is damaged. We have lost a lot of important members of our community, but I think we did a good job.
It's, as I hear you talk about all these connections in Whitehall and across Columbus and in the greater Columbus metropolitan area, and especially even with the vaccines and how so many different organizations work to set aside, again, to make that process easier for people who are coming across those barriers. It reminds me of the earlier comments you were making about the work that you do and how great of a community Columbus is because of that care within the city. I've heard you mention in the past 10 minutes, probably 40 organizations that you work with.
Yeah.
In this way that, like, you know, Columbus as a community really has faith in Columbus, right?
Yes, it is.
And the people and because I think that we as a city understand and are celebrate the amazing diversity of people and cultures, because all of those things make the city what it is. And I don't know, I get really excited when I hear these conversations about the city working together to make sure everyone's cared for.
Yeah, I think it is amazing. That's why Columbus becomes the destination for many refugee immigrants as secondary migrants. I mean, the first time, settlers, yes, there is a quota at the national level, but our number increased here fast is because of the welcomeness and the community working. I mean, COVID-19 is a testimony. The funding partners, whether it's foundation or corporate, the local city, the local government, the county commissioners, the state, work together, the different health systems, social service agents. I'm part of the board with the Human Service Chamber of Columbus, of Central Ohio. I'm member of the Columbus Metropolitan Housing Authority. There is a huge network in that. I'm part of the ETSS, part of the Health Collaborative of Greater Columbus. A lot of coalitions that we are working with the Care Coalition. We were part of the Mayor's Safety Commission, and also we are part of the Whitehall. The Mayor Magard, she put together the New Americans, advisory group, and we were part of that in that consultation. And the different church community phased and community-based organizations. So you are right. The cities in Columbus, whether Columbus City or Whitehall or Reynoldsburg or Westerville cities, these are the main because they are contiguous around Columbus, are very prone to really invite and open. And they believe that togetherness, our future is really working together. Because we are global now. With technology, everything is coming together. Whether you like to run within a minute or second, you can see from the far part of China what happens now here. So the community is really our future is togetherness. There is no way on that. So Columbus is really leading in that, and I really appreciate it. And I have been here for 24 years. Every year there is growth, there is opportunity, and now everybody is embracing that racial equity and diversity and inclusion at their core value, which ETSS has been from the very beginning. The foundation of the organization is on base of that equality, diversity. But now everybody is now embracing that, which is really a good move in the good direction. The county commissioner's blueprint plan is really one of the testimonies that how the leadership is really ready. And I'm very, very positive about the Columbus and Columbus surrounding cities like Whitehall and others moving towards Reynoldsburg becomes now a very progressive city leadership that we have. So I think I see the future is bright. Of course, there are so many challenges that we are facing.
Right.
And we together we can overcome them.
Yeah.
That's what my belief.
So, Dr. Seleshi, one final question for you. For individuals who may be listening or watching this podcast who think to themselves, I'm not on council, I'm just one person, who want to support the ongoing efforts of ETSS, what is the best way for individuals to support the great work that you're doing?
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Even that was, I was trying to, because our work is moving forward because of our supporters, because we have a community-wide support. Over 69 community-based organizations are working with us. About 25 foundation and corporate support that we have. About 27 from the city and local and state government that we are supporting. Individuals like you and others. So what I am really, sending the message is that we need your help. Our website, www.etotss.org, or if you can Google ETSS Columbus, you will see our website, our Facebook. There is a donation there. And recently, from May 8th to 10, there is a campaign coordinated by United Way. Then if you have 500 people, that helps you $5.114, and that accumulated, and then we'll get 50% donations from their pool of donation money.
Yeah.
So I want everyone who's listening to this event. I mean, Kerry, she'll give more information, but our website is really a good source to get the number one, to know what we are doing. We have annual report there, and number two, there is a donation button. If you can help us, it is because of your help that we are thriving and embracing and make the new Americans stable and contributing members of the society. We don't want a taxpayer to take your benefits, just simply sitting there, take benefits, because it is a tool, it's an organization. Move away from that dependency to become self-sufficient and part of contributing members of our society, or productive members of our society. So for this call, we need your help. We need your support, and support. Yeah, it could be financial, but there are voluntary ways, that leadership support, advocacy on the work that we did. All those are very important parts. So, like you did now, what you did is now really, taking the information to the wider, Whitehall community and beyond. So that means is helping us, the board, to really ETSS to be more visible to us. There are so many that they don't know that our existence, and they don't know how our holistic, culturally appropriate services are provided: economic stability, health, education, community participation and engagement, labor safety, and domestic violence. These are the 5 key areas that we are programming and embracing and helping our community, so that it's a model organization that we build in from scratch, and now it's a big institution having more than 150 employees, over 13 locations, speaking over 30 languages. If you come to my staff meeting, it's like the mini United Nations. Our face is the face of Franklin County, Central Ohio, because if you see that the client we serve, now, even beyond now, the new Americans who are serving any economically disadvantaged person coming to our door will get services. So we are embracing and expanding, and sooner, hopefully, that will be a reception and placement agency to become a resettlement agency where we can bring refugees and settle here in Central Ohio. We're in the application process. God help us, if we'll approve, I'll come back in this podcast and we'll talk about that time. We'll look maybe, I'm trying to really to build that a volunteer settlement program, which is like your church can take a family and helps them how to shop in Kroger, how to really ride the buses, that kind of relationship we can build. So I'm very, very excited. Our programs is being looked at statewide. It probably will be expand our service to Cincinnati, Cleveland, and other areas. But we need your support. Really, that what you did is really incredible today. This is what advocacy is. Supporting. It's not really the money part, but this May we have a very big campaign. Look at our website, and at least we need your help. $10, $20.
Yeah,
it's a big help, really.
And what I'll do is I'll put a link to the ETSS website in the description below. So anybody listening that wants to learn more about that organization and all the great work you do across our community, I can find that information, that source of donations, all that sort of information.
Thank you, my friend. Thank you, my friend. I appreciate that.
Dr. Seleshi, thank you so much for your time. I know you're a busy guy and you got a plane to catch eventually. Safe travels, my friend. And again, thank you so much.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you so much.